Hello, Mount Calvary, and welcome to your daily devotional. I'm Vicar Tim, and we're continuing our walk through the book of Judges. Today we're looking at Judges chapter 13, where we see the beginning of the story of Samson, where the messenger of the Lord appears to Samson's parents and tells them to prepare for this amazing birth, the birth of a child who will be dedicated to the Lord from conception. And I love this chapter, and we're going to get into why. But before we get into it, let's get into Judges chapter 13. We're not going to read all of it, but we're going to jump around. But chapter 13 starts away a lot of chapters in this book do. The people of Israel again did what the Lord considered evil, so the Lord handed them over to the Philistines for 40 years. So for 40 years, the Lord hands his people to the hands of the Philistines, so the Philistine has control over them. And then we get a man named Manoah, who's from the family of Dan. And we're going to pick up in verse 3. The messenger of the Lord appeared to her and said, "You've never been able to have a child, but now you've become pregnant and have a son. Now you must be careful. Don't drink any wine or liquor or eat any unclean food. You're going to become pregnant and have a son. You must never cut his hair because the boy will be a Nazarite, dedicated to God from birth. He'll begin to rescue Israel from the power of the Philistines." Now, before we go any further, I want to dig into this word, he will be a Nazarite. If you remember from the Pentateuch, from the book of Numbers, in Numbers chapter 6, we get this special vow Israelites can speak. And in Numbers chapter 6, it writes, "The Lord said to Moses, speak to the Israelites and tell them, a man or woman may make a special vow to live as a Nazarite, dedicated to the Lord." And it goes on to list all these rules that Nazarites have to follow. They can't drink liquor, they can't drink wine, they can't eat anything from a grapevine. They can't even eat grape seeds or skins. They can never cut their hair. And it goes on and on and on about all these rules. So what is a Nazarite? Well, a Nazarite is simply one who is set apart, one who is outside, one who has consecrated themselves to God, who are set apart their whole life for God. And Samson doesn't have a chance. As it's going to say in verse 7, "The boy will be a Nazarite, dedicated to God from the time he is born until he dies." Really, from the time he is conceived until the time he dies, Samson is consecrated. Samson is set apart to fulfill this role of judge, to begin to rescue Israel from the power of the Philistines. And I like that word too, begin to rescue. Notice here the messenger of the Lord doesn't say he's going to complete the job, he just says he is going to begin to rescue. So that's what Nazarite is. That's who Samson is. He's set apart from the very beginning, from conception, to be consecrated to the Lord, to hold the law of Yahweh to a stricter standard, to never cut his hair, to never drink alcohol, and to live a very specific way. But let's get back to the narrative. And so the woman goes and tells her husband that she just saw a man of God, and he had a very frightening appearance like the messenger of God. So I didn't ask him where he came from, and he didn't tell me his name. So we start to see that this messenger of God, this malach of Yahweh, this angel of God, is different. There's something special about him. He looks like the messenger of God. And she's almost in fear. So she goes and tells her husband, and her husband prays to God and says, "Let me see this man of God you sent." And God answers his prayer, and the messenger comes back to the wife as she is in the fields, and she goes and gets her husband, and Manoah comes back, and he says, "Are you the man who spoke to my wife?" "Yes," he answered. And then he goes on, and he's kind of asking, "So what is this that's going on?" And he tells him again, "Your wife has to be careful. She can't drink alcohol. She can't drink wine. She can't eat unclean foods. She must be careful." And then Manoah, almost in a Thanksgiving way, he says, "Please let me prepare for you a young goat to eat." Now we see the messenger of the Lord is even more peculiar. He says, "If I stay here, I will not eat any of your food. But if you make a burnt offering, sacrifice it to the Lord." So he can't eat the food here, but if you burn the offering, it will seem to have some effect. And then I like this little detail that's added on at the end of 16, because Manoah did not realize that was the messenger of the Lord. The messenger of the Lord. See, it's almost a title. And then Manoah asked the messenger of the Lord, "What is your name? When the words come true, we want to honor you." And the messenger of the Lord asked him, "Why do you ask me my name?" It's a name that works miracles. Are you starting to put the clues together? Who this messenger of the Lord is? The messenger of the Lord isn't like the other angels of the Lord. This messenger looks very specific and is almost frightening. So frightening, in fact, that the wife of Manoah, Samson's mother, doesn't want to ask too many questions. He doesn't want to eat, but he wants a burnt offering. He doesn't want to tell a name, but it's a name that works miracles. Let's go on to verse 19. So Manoah took a young goat and a grain offering and sacrificed them to the Lord on a rock he used as an altar. While Manoah and his wife watched, the Lord did something miraculous. As the flame went up toward heaven from the altar, the messenger of the Lord went up in the flame. When Manoah and his wife saw this, they immediately bowed down with their faces touching the ground. This isn't just an angel. This isn't just a messenger. This is Jesus. I love this because when Manoah and his wife watched, the Lord did something miraculous. The Lord went up with the flames. And the messenger of the Lord doesn't appear for them again. And they go on. And Manoah is afraid. And Manoah says to his wife, "We will certainly die because we have seen God." And Manoah's wife, like most wives, talks some sense into him. If the Lord wanted to kill us, he would not have accepted our burnt offering and grain offering. He would not have let us see or hear all these things just now. And so they name him Samson. He grows up, the Lord blesses him, and it ends with the Lord's Spirit began to stir in him while he was at Mahane Dan, between Zorah and Ashtaol. I love this chapter of Judges because we see Jesus. Now, we as Lutherans believe that everything in the Bible points to the gospel truth of Jesus Christ. But here in Judges 13, we see Jesus. We see Christ. Christ himself, a pre-incarnate Christ, is doing the work of the Father. He is being a messenger of the Father. He is submitting himself to the Father before he's even incarnated. Now there's going to be a lot of heretics in this world who believe that Christ was created. We had a whole council about it. Saint Nick punched a man over it. But Jesus is here already in Judges 13 being the Son of God, submitting to the Father and being this messenger and proclaiming the gift of God. The gift of Samson, who is a gift. He will come and he will begin to save Israel from Philistine. And I really like this kind of typography here because we have the Son of God saying, your son Samson is going to begin to save Israel. He's not going to finish it. I'm going to. The messenger of the Lord who is speaking at that very moment is the one who frees Israel from the world, who frees Israel from their captors, Philistine, who frees Israel from their captors of sin, who frees Israel from their captors of death, who frees Israel of their captors of Satan. I love this verse. I love this book, this chapter, because we see Jesus Christ here pretty clearly as a messenger of the Lord who comes to proclaim the gifts of God already. The messenger of the Lord whose name works miracles. We see Jesus Christ already here in Judges 13. It's one of the coolest things we have. Our God hasn't changed. Our God is the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Jesus has always submitted to the Father, has always done the will of the Father. He even submitted unto death for you, so you might be freed. Not from the Philistines, but from those bigger enemies, from death, from sin, from Satan. And so we give thanks today that our God is the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow, and that guarantees you and me victory. Victory not over Philistines, but victory over death, victory over our own sin, and victory over Satan and his army of fallen angels. So we give thanks today for our God who continues to uphold his promises and proclaim his gospel truths of forgiveness and redemption. Have a great day, Mount Calvary.